Hello, welcome to Bits and Biology. My name's Liz, and today I'm going to do a solo playthrough of Birdwatcher. This is a 1 to 5 player game designed by Zakir Jaffrey with artwork by Lauren Helton and published in 2022 by Oni Game Studios and Renegade Game Studios. Plays in about 25 to 60 minutes, with the solo game coming in at about 25 minutes. That sounds about right. Let's go down to the table and see how to play the solo game of Birdwatcher. Here we are, pretty much set up for a solo game of Birdwatcher. So in Birdwatcher, in the solo game, you are playing against an AI called the Crew of Global Geographic. And you can play at one of 6 difficulty levels, starting all the way from easy, where the AI starts with 2 citation points and 1 black sicklebill, and going all the way up to hardest level, that's level 6, where they start with 3 black sicklebills, 3 books, and 4 citation points. So those are the 3 variables that determine the difficulty level. I will go through the rules of how to play solo once we decide at what level we're playing. I am not going to go through complete rules teach. I've already done that in a different video, so if you're interested in that, you might want to go take a look at that first. But you should be able to pick up on how to play pretty quickly just by watching this video. So I have already played on medium. It took me 9 games. I've played this game I've played 9 times solo, and it took me losing the first 6 games to finally beat the crew on the medium level of difficulty. I've done that 3 times, and sort of my rule for myself is that I would then move up to the next difficulty level. So we're going to play on hard level, which means the crew is starting with 1 black sicklebill, 2 books, and 3 citation points. So the solo game is pretty similar to the multiplayer game. Like I said, your AI opponent is the crew. This is a team of photographers from Global Geographic. And the only difference in the setup between the multiplayer game and the solo game, besides picking your level of difficulty, is that we start with 4 cards in the clearing, which we don't do in the multiplayer game. Another thing to note is that the crew is not limited to how many birds they can have in their tree. We are still limited to having 6 birds in our tree, but the crew can have as many as accumulate there, and you'll see how that happens. The solo player always goes first, so I'm going to leave my noisy little camera over here to remind you of that. During the crew's turn, we're going to basically perform 2 actions every time. The first is that we are going to count the number of birds that they have in their tree. And if it is fewer than 6, they will take a publication. If it is 6 or more, then they will, following a set of rules, place birds down into their photo journal. And we'll go through that set of rules the first time that we have to make that decision. The next thing that you do after counting the number of birds the crew has in their tree is to then check the birds that are in the jungle and in the clearing. So you kind of look at those as a whole. If all of the birds are unique, the crew will then run into the jungle, which means that all 3 of these cards get put over into the clearing, and that gets done in clockwise order, starting with this top left corner after any empty spots are filled. If the birds are not all unique, like for instance here, we have 2 Wilson's Bird of Paradise and we have 2 broad-plumed Lofarina, in that case, they would take whatever there are multiple birds of. And if there are multiple sets of multiple birds, like we have here, 2 sets of 2, then there are some rules that they follow to determine which ones they take. And as you might guess, it will always be points-wise in the crew's favor. There aren't really any decisions for the solo player to make in terms of the birds that come into the tree for the crew and the birds that come down into their photo journal. You pretty much just play your own game. This is a pretty simple AI to run. There are There are a hierarchy of decisions for each of those two actions, but they're extremely easy to remember. So after you do them a few times, then it should be no problem to remember what they are. The crew collects insects off of their bird cards just like we do, and at the end of the game, scoring is done in the same way. The game end is triggered whenever one of us has 18 birds in our photo journal. That's so far for me always been the crew that gets there first. Or we run out of bird cards to draw off of the bird card deck when we need to. That so far has not happened to me. So far the games have ended every time because the crew has gotten 18 birds in their photo journal. I think that is everything I wanted to say. I did get this completely set up ahead of time because you have to shuffle in the imposter nestlings and the hybrid bird cards after doing all of this setup. So that's why I set that up first, so that I could then shuffle those in. I do want to mention a couple of things before we get started. There are, out of all the birds of paradise that are on the cards, there are 11 species represented if you include the 12-wired bird of paradise. We, of course, don't play with the 12-wired bird of paradise. That is only used in the 5-player game. Or you can use it in the 2 to 4-player game if you swap out the blue bird of paradise, but we don't use it at all in the solo game. Those 11 species are spread across 10 genera, and I did want to point out, because it is out here, this I think is really interesting, and I'm going to tell you something in a minute here about birds of paradise, but this greater birds of paradise is one of our species. It's in the genus Paradisaea. And the specific epithet, the second part of its species name, is apoda. So here's your interesting historical fact about birds of paradise. This greater bird of paradise was the first one that was known to Europeans, and it was known from bird skins that had been traded with local people in New Guinea, and because of its beautiful plumage. And so ladies like to wear these feathers in their hats. And so this was one of those, right? But when the natives would prepare the bird skins, in order to really show off the beautiful plumage, they would actually remove the feet and they removed the wings. And so it gets its name apoda from the fact that it was thought to be legless or footless, apoda, and that they actually just floated in the air and somewhere between heaven and earth because they were so beautiful, right? Anyway, there's your little historical fact. If you have a chance, I completely recommend watching David Attenborough's Paradise Birds. It is phenomenal, and I learned a lot, and hopefully I'll impart some of that to you as we go along through playing the game. But now I'm going to get started. So I get to go first. And a reminder here on my player board of my different actions I can do. I can take a photo, I can run into the jungle, I could do a bird call to get birds into my tree, I could do a zoom lens where I get to steal a bird from the crew, and I can publish by taking one of those publications. One thing I do when I'm playing solo is I use these markers. These don't come with the game. But I get, just like in the multiplayer game, I get 3 actions, right? And 2 of the activities cost 2 actions. The other 3 only cost 1. But in order to keep track of those while I pause and think and how many actions I've taken, I actually move these over to the other side of my player board to keep track of that. And then I'm going to use this other set of, these are just little wooden meeples I have laying around. I'm going to use this other set to help me keep track of how many cards the crew has in their photo journals, so I don't have to keep counting. All right, so I get to go first. The first thing I'm going to do is take a look at these publication cards and see what they say. So the first one says 2 citation points per page with no insect in the preceding 4 pages of your photo journal. That would be a silly one to get right now because I have no pages in my photo journal. 2 citation points per black sicklebill in your photo journal, and an additional 2 citation points for this card. That's a pretty good one. It only has 1 book on it, so I'm not so sure, but I already have a black sicklebill in my tree. There's another one out here. Unfortunately, the crew also has one, because if you're familiar with the rules of this game, you'll know that at the end of the game, whoever has the most black sicklebills will score 7 points, and second most will score 3 points. Okay, and then the next publication card has 2 books, and it says when you gain this card, immediately run into the jungle. That's a good one. 1 citation point for each rare hybrid and black sicklebill in your photojournal. I really like this publication card. I've had it before, and it meshes well with the strategy that I use against the crew. So, but the first thing I want to do, I really want to try to control what birds the crew gets into their tree, because that's sort of a timer for the game. I want to try to make it so that they're not taking more than 2 birds at a time from the, preferably just 1, but not more than 2 birds at a time from the jungle or the clearing, because once they start getting 3 or 4 birds, the game goes pretty quickly. But I think the first thing I want to do is play a bird, and let's see, there are another one of those. There's not I'm just going to play this black sicklebill because it's going to start me collecting these insects. So I'm going to do the take a photo action, so that costs me 1 action. I'm going to put the black sicklebill down here, and I think I will put the blue bird of paradise, and I'm going to use it to cover up this Wilson's bird of paradise. And I'm doing that very deliberately because there are 2 of those out there. And if you look at the scoring ribbon, they are worth more points than the broad-plumed Lofarina. And so I'm trying to make it so that out of the choices, they're going to take the lowest of the 2, which is not usually what they do. I placed that sideways because it has been startled into the clearing by my noisy camera. So that I've done 1 action, and I think for my next 2 actions, this is going to cost me 2 actions, quite expensive, but I will use 2 actions to get, which one do I want? I don't really want to, the run into the jungle. That black sicklebill is worth 4 points. When you gain this card, immediately run into the jungle. I get 1 citation point per rare hybrid and black sicklebill, and it gives me 2 books. I really like that because the individual 2 points per black sicklebill, that's pretty good too. And it's worth 2 points for that citation card. I don't know, I think this one's, they're both really good. Okay, I am going to do this one, the 2 citation points per black sicklebill in your photojournal, because I already have 1, and then I get 2 points for that card. I'd like to, on my next turn, perhaps get that publication there. We're competing with the crew for number of books. They're going to start out with 2, as you'll see here in a minute, and I just want to make sure I stay ahead of them, because at the end of the game, whoever has the most books gets plus 5 points, and whoever has the least books gets minus 2 points. And so that's a 7-point swing in a solo game, so that's quite a big difference. And I forgot to get my lady beetle, put that in my tree right here, or on my player board. All right, so I've used all 3 of my actions. All right, I don't know if there was any anomalies on the recording, but my computer just sort of shut down, went into sleep mode all of a sudden while it was recording. It looks like it's still recording, so I'm not sure what happened, but apologies if there was any anomalies. I'm not sure where that happened. So I got my publication. I used up all my 3 actions. It is now the crew's turn. And so for their first action of every game, they have fewer than 6 birds. So they're going to do a publication, but instead of, I forgot to replace my card. Instead of taking one from the academy, they're first going to play this difficulty level card, so that has them start with 2 books. So this is a publication. They're going to do that first. So that was the part where I check the number of birds they have. They have fewer than 6, so they're going to publish a publication. And the next thing I do is to check the birds in the jungle and the clearing. This one's no longer startled. And see if there are any that are duplicates. And there are, and so the crew will take both of these broad-plumed Lofarinas. And again, they are not limited in how many cards they can have in their tree. All right, so now it is my turn. I don't replace that missing bird in the clearing. not until I run into the jungle, but I do replace this one. Oh, with another broad-plumed lofarina. Look at that. All right, well, for my next action, remember I said, let's see what publication came out. 1 citation point per lone bird in your photojournal and an additional 2 citation points for this card. That's this one right here, which may be good. My strategy is usually to go for black sicklebills and rare hybrids. Because the crew does a really good job of clearing out the like birds, and I'm trying to keep as few like birds in the clearing in the jungle as possible. But I don't know yet if I'm going to run into many of those hybrids, so it's a little early to bank on that strategy. I still don't have 4 pages in my journal, and so I am going to spend my first 2 actions. When you gain this card, immediately run into the jungle. 1 citation point for each rare hybrid and black sicklebill in your photojournal. So I'm going to run into the jungle immediately because of this card. So I can choose which cards go where, but I do have to fill that empty spot. I don't totally have a preference. I do want to keep this one visible because I might take that one. I don't know yet. So, oh, actually, I think what I want to do is take that black sicklebill. So I do not want the crew to be able to see this broad-plumed lofarina. So I'm gonna cover that up because I don't want to get a set of 3 of those. So that's my strategy there. Then I replace the cards in the jungle, replace the publication that got taken. That says when you gain this card, immediately add any bird from the jungle or clearing to your tree. Oh, I would love to do that, but I don't have enough actions left. I only have 1 action left. I only have 1 insect token. If I had 2, I could spend them to do another action. But right now I've got 3 books to the crew's 2, so I'm doing okay. So I have 1 action left, and I think what I'm going to do is spend it to do a bird call. Oh, where I can take all of a single species, and so I will. I'm going to take this red bird of paradise because it matches one that I already have. So now I have 3 of these. Now the danger in clearing anything out of the jungle right before the crew's turn is that it gives them a nice matching bird. I specifically hope there is not a black sicklebill that comes up. Ah, good. Blue bird of paradise. All right. So now it is the crew's turn, and the first thing I do is count how many bird cards they have. They do have 6, so they're going to play these 2, but here are the rules that they follow. They will first add all of the most abundant species that they have in their tree and place those in their photojournal. So that's this broad-plumed lofarina. If there was a tie, if there was multiple birds that had multiples, or maybe they were all singles, that's almost never happens. But then if there's a tie, then species that match the rightmost page in their photojournal would be the next choice. If that fails, then species worth the most points for that number of birds would be the next choice. And then failing that, the species with the largest scoring ribbon would be the next choice. But we can add these ones. They are the most abundant species. We place them in the photojournal. The second thing we are going to do is check the birds in the clearing in the jungle and see if there are multiples of any of them. And there are 2 of these greater birds of paradise. I didn't actually notice that last time. So both of these get added to the crew's tree, and we replace the bird from the jungle. All right. Now we've got 2 empty spots in the clearing. So when you gain this card, I'm looking at this publication because I probably shouldn't get it, but these are cards that I've seen before and I really like, so I'm kind of thinking of doing that again before I try to put this red bird of paradise into my photojournal because I don't want to break up that set. And one thing about the publications is if the crew ever takes a publication, they take the leftmost one, but then the other 2 get discarded. And so if there is one up here that you really want during the solo game, you really got to aggressively go after it. And so 3 citation points for this card. That's pretty good. 3, and it would give me the black sicklebill, but you know, maybe not. I'm not that interested in it. I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a run into the jungle action. So I have to fill these 2 empty spots first. So let's do that, and then let's do, where do I want to put this one? Well, there's 2 up here that the crew has in their tree. There's 3, but I'm probably going to take that black sicklebill. So I'm going to cover up the one that's worth the most. Potentially, this one's potentially worth the most points, because if you get 3 of them, it's worth a lot. So I'm going to cover that one up. And then I refill the jungle. Okay. Oh, look, it's one of those rare hybrids, the wonderful bird of paradise. This is a hybrid between a lesser and a 12-wired bird of paradise, and just beautiful rare hybrid. Okay, so now I have a choice. I was planning on my next turn to take that black sicklebill because it is worth 4 points, but that wonderful bird of paradise is worth 5 points. It is a rare hybrid now, but the thing with the black sicklebills is whoever has the most at the end of the game gets 7 points, and I do want to be that person. So the crew almost never will take the rare hybrids. Oh, but we have the King of Saxony. That's worth a lot, and I don't want the crew to take that. So actually, just to thwart the crew, I am going to take the King of Saxony. I now have 6 birds in my tree, so I can't take any more. But I think what I want to do is I'm actually going to... Oh, I already had one of those. Okay, well, I don't want the crew to have them, so I'm going to stick with it. I am going to play one of these, but since I have 3 of them, I'm going to play one of these to the clearing. Now I play it sideways because it's startled. That was my 3rd action. So for my first action, I ran into the jungle. For my second action, I did a bird call. For my 3rd action, I took a photo. So that's that. I am done with my actions. I don't get an insect token for that. And now we come over to the crew. They do have 6 birds in their tree, so they're going to play these 2 greater birds of paradise into their tree. So they already have 5 pages in their photo journal, and I just put one of these on the 5th page, and I do that for every 5 pages. Again, these don't come with the game. That's just my little way of keeping track of things as a solo player. You should put in the comments, what are some things that you do as a solo player to keep track of your turns, or the AI's turns, or the end of the game, or that sort of thing. I'd be really curious to hear that. So let me know down in the comments. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, so the crew just played their birds, and now we're going to check the jungle and the clearing and see if there's multiples of any birds. We can turn that up now. And there are not. They are all unique. And so the crew is going to do the run into the jungle action. And so we put birds into the clearing in clockwise order, starting with that top left. This was another reason I wasn't too worried about the black sicklebill, because it's in a location that doesn't get filled by the crew, so it's in a relatively safe location, except now it's not safe. Now the crew is definitely going to take it, because that is the only thing there are multiples of. That is horrible. Okay, yep, that's the only thing there's multiples of, so it will take both of these black sicklebills. Ah, that's terrible. It now has 3 black sicklebills in its tree. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do about that in a minute. I don't want it to play all 3 of those black sicklebills. For one thing, I get 3 extra points per black sicklebill. And so so now it's my turn. We have to refill the jungle. So if I take one of those black sicklebills, which I'm pretty sure is what I'm going to do, then it's going to end up taking a publication on its next turn, because it will only have 5 cards. Where it says 2 citation points per page with no insect in the preceding 4 pages. Oh, that's worth 8 points. But on the other hand, I could take with the zoom lens this black sicklebill that's... Oh, it will still have 6 cards because I have to give it a card. Okay, and it gets 1 from the deck. So this is a little bit dangerous, but I'm going to use it. Costs me 2 actions. I'm going to use it to take this highest point black sicklebill. So this is worth 4. Each of those is worth 2. Those do come with insect tokens, which is great, but I want this 4-pointer. That goes straight into my photo journal. Yeah, so it does cost 2 actions, but it does go straight into my photo journal. But the downside is I have to give a bird card to the crew. I'm going to do one of these red birds of paradise. I think I'm going to end up using these as sort of giveaway birds. So there we go. They get that one. They also get to draw a bird from the bird deck. Now, if they were a normal player in a multiplayer game, they would not do this because they already have 6 birds. But since they're the crew, they're allowed more than 6 birds. So they get it, and they get a greater bird of paradise. Luckily, it matches nothing that they have, so that's great. Okay, so I've done 2 actions. I have 1 more action. So with my other action, I'm going to play this King of Saxony. Oh! Okay, I'm going to just rewind for a minute. You get to do this in solo games. I'm going to reverse the order of those 2 actions. So I'm still doing the exact same actions, but before I take the sickle bill from the crew, I'm going to play this King of Saxony. Because I don't want to interrupt that set. So I have to give up one of these. It has to go into this empty spot in the clearing. Okay, so I don't know if you caught what I did there, but I got so worried that they had 3 black sickle bills that I forgot to look and remember that I was playing King of Saxony. I want both of those in a row because if they're separate, they're only 3 points each. But if they're right next to each other, they're 10 points for the 2 of them. Okay, so we'll do that. It was all within the same turn, so I think that's okay. Okay, so I have taken all 3 of my actions. I didn't get any insect tokens, so I still can't buy another action. So I am done with my turn. And now it is the crew's turn, so they do have 7 birds in their tree, so they're going to play these 2 black sickle bills. So we are tied right now for blacks. No, actually they are 1 ahead of me because they start with 1. So right now they have 3 black sickle bills to my 2. So I'm hoping some more black sickle bills come out, and when they do, I am going to jump on them. So I turned this up because it's no longer startled. Okay, so that was the first part of the crew's turn. For the next part, I look in the clearing in the jungle to see if there are multiples of any cards, and there are not, and that's unfortunate because now the crew is about to cover up that wonderful bird of paradise. Okay, so yep, none of these are duplicates, so they do in clockwise order into the clearing, and then so they do the run into the jungle action. Ooh, look at that 7-point hybrid. Nice. Okay, now they're looking for if there are any duplicates. Now there are. If there were not, the first thing they would look for is the species that matches the most abundant species in their tree. The next would be is worth the most points. And then the next part of that decision process would be that it has the longest scoring ribbon. But we don't have to make any of those decisions because there is a duplicate right here. There are 2 bluebirds of paradise that they can put into their tree. Okay, and we replaced that card in the jungle, so now it's my turn. There's an imposter nestling. This is an interesting story. So the imposter nestlings are in the game because the game needed a wild card. These imposter nestlings are representing the chicks from brood parasites. These are birds that lay their eggs in other species' nests and then abandon them. And those baby birds will always be brought up by the birds that are the inhabitants of that nest. Even it can get quite sad because this happens in the United States, in the eastern United States. We have brown-headed cowbirds that do this, and the brown-headed cowbirds are huge in comparison to warblers, which are tiny. So brown-headed cowbirds are, I think, about the size of robins, and the warblers, of course, are just really tiny. And the brown-headed cowbirds will lay their eggs in the nests of warblers, and those poor warbler parents will be feeding this chick, this ravenous chick that is just getting huger and huger, and at the expense of their own chicks, because the brown-headed cowbird chicks are quite vocal, and so the parents respond to that, and so it's not good for the chicks of the birds that, who that nest belongs to. But anyway, So this is representing that chick, right? Similar to the brown-headed cowbird. Now, there is no documented cases of nest parasitism in birds of paradise. However, we don't actually know a lot about their nesting habits. And so I actually found, so the artist for this game is also a biologist, and she's a scientific illustrator. And I found where she had posted some information about how she decided what species to represent in this nest. And so the brood parasite chick is in the middle, and then these two chicks on the outside would be birds of paradise, chicks from birds of paradise. So I'm just going to summarize what she wrote about it. So basically, she made the decision that this middle chick is a white-browed coal. This is a species of large cuckoo that is found within the range of the birds of paradise, so in New Guinea and some nearby islands. I don't think that it's a brood parasite, or maybe we don't know, but they have a close relative, the Asian coal, that is a brood parasite. So to Lauren Hilton, the artist for the game, she said it seemed possible that the white-browed coal could parasitize birds of paradise, even if we hadn't documented that in nature yet. And so that's what's represented here. The chicks on the outside are actually the chicks of the Ragiana bird of paradise. That's because they're actually one of the few chicks of birds of paradise that we know what they look like. So anyway, there's my long side tangent on the imposter nestlings. Okay, so anyway, but now, let's see, what were we doing? We were replacing, that's what we were doing. We were replacing because the crew had taken the bluebirds of paradise, and we were replacing that empty spot. Now it's my turn. And the role that these imposter nestlings play in the game is that if they go next to another bird, they basically copy that bird, right? So it's a wild card. I am going to take the bird call action and call this mysterious bird of Bobairo. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is a hybrid between a black sicklebill and a broad-plumed Lofarina. All right, and these rare hybrids, these are all but two of them are documented hybrids. Some more well documented than others. Two of the hybrids that we may or may not see in this game are imaginary. One was invented, I'm not sure if it was invented by the artist or the game developers or what, but one other, the King of Ribbons, was a hybrid that was created by Kickstarter backers. But this one is actually one that's been documented. So I'm going to do a bird call that to my tree, and then I am going to, and what am I going to do? We replace this. I've got two actions left. You gain this card. You know what I should have done is done the publication to get this mysterious bird of paradise. Do this publication. No, not going to do that. Okay, I am going to take the run into the jungle action. I want to try and get a multiple of something out here. So let's cover up some things that the crew has. They actually have one of these Arfak Astropia birds. They also have a red bird of paradise. They don't have a standard wing. So I'll cover that up with an imposter nestling. King of Saxony, they don't have, so I'll cover up the red bird of paradise. They do have a western Parodia, but they also have one of these, and this one's worth more. So actually, maybe what I'll do is cover up that with that, and then cover up that with that one. All right, and then, oh, look, imposter nestlings again, and two western Parotias. So one thing I'm looking at here is now we have two imposter nestlings, and I really don't want the crew to get those because they would play them after this bluebird of paradise, and that would give them 20 points if that were to happen, which is more than the 8 points they would get, or 14 points if they get, it's 3 western Parotias. Darn it. Shoot. I need to take some cards, but I don't know which ones to take. The western Parodia does me more good, although the imposter nestlings actually do also copy black sicklebills. So Oh, I'm not sure if this is the best decision, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these imposter nestlings for my last action. Okay, so that's me. Now we come over here. The crew definitely has more than 6 cards, so they're going to play these blue birds of paradise into their photo journal. They are up to 9 cards now. We replace the card in the... Oh my goodness, that's horrible. Because now we are looking for matching cards, and there are of course 3 of these, and so that's what the crew takes, is all 3 of these Western Parotias. They're going to be able to play 4 cards on their next turn, which is horrible. Now they'll only get credit for 3 of them, but that 4 is going to put us much closer to the end of the game, so that's not great. Okay. My turn. I already have 4 cards, so I can't take all 3 of these standard wings just yet. So I'm going to spend 1 action to play this, take a photo action, this mysterious bird of Babairo, this hybrid, and put it into my photo journal. And with this red bird of paradise, I am going to cover up probably the broad-plumed Lofarina. Oh, maybe the King of Saxony. Okay, and then, actually, I can look through these stacks at any time, so I want to see what I'm going to uncover when I uncover that. It's this. Okay, so there's not another copy of that. All right, so that was my take a photo action. This bird is now startled. I would not be able to call that back into my tree. So I am going to take the bird call action and call all of these standard wing, bird of paradise, earthquake over here. All 3 of these. That puts me at 5 over here. We refill the jungle. Another black sicklebill. So I am at 5. There's not multiples out there. I kind of want the black sicklebill, but I don't want to uncover that spot in the jungle to see another one of these come up. What would I be uncovering? Western Parotia. That's not the best, but not terrible. I am going to take another bird call action and call this wonderful bird of paradise, this rare hybrid here, into my tree. I'm now at 6. I'm at my maximum capacity, and I have done all of my actions. Now we come over here to the crew, and oh, this is heartbreaking. They're playing 4 birds, this Western Parotia, into their photo journal. So they now have 2, 3, 4, 5. They now have 13. Each one of these markers marks the 5th one, so that's 5, that's 10. Now they're at 13. They only need 5 more cards to end the game. And now they're going to look out here, and they're looking for multiples. There are none, so they're going to take the run into the jungle action. And refill the... Oh, no. Oh, this is good, I think. So we have 2 that have 2 birds. We have black sicklebills and bluebird of paradise. I would prefer that they take the bluebird of paradise. I don't want them to take the black sicklebills. So actually I'm going to not look at my summary and read for sure the actual... so these are the solo rules that come with the game. All right, if tied, take the tied species based on this hierarchy. Matches the most abundant of those tied species in their tree. They don't have either one of those, so that's not is worth the most points. Well, I think if we are being exactly precise, the black sicklebills, since this one's worth 4 and that one's worth 3, those together are worth 7, and these bluebirds of paradise are together worth 6. That is unfortunate, because this one has the largest scoring ribbon, but that's the 3rd in our hierarchy of decision making, and so it comes after worth the most points. So I think that the crew gets both of these black sicklebills. I really don't want those to end up in their tree. They already have 2 here, 1 that they started with. They have a total of 3. I only have 2. It is now my turn, so I am going to use up 2 of my actions to take one of these black sicklebills. Now, one of these comes with an insect and one of them doesn't, but the one that doesn't is worth 4 points and this one's worth 3 points, but I really want that insect. So I'm going to take this black sicklebill into my tree, not into my tree, into my photojournal. I have to give them a bird, and so I'm going to give them one of these standard wings that I have, that I actually collected mostly just to use to put birds in my photojournal. I do get a butterfly. And now what am I going to do? We do refill the jungle. Now what am I going to do? I have one more action. I could spend these 2 insect tokens to get another action. But and they get to draw one from the deck. They're taking a hybrid. Man, oh man, Triumphant Bird of Paradise. This Triumphant Bird of Paradise is one of the ones that was imaginary. Supposedly a hybrid between a trumpet manucode and a splendid astropia. But this is a made-up hybrid, this Triumphant Bird of Paradise. But this goes into their tree. Unfortunately, I might have to steal that from them at some point because I get is it 2 points? Let's see. I can't remember. Oh, well, actually it tells me, I don't even have to lift that up. It tells me along the ribbon here I get 1 extra point per each hybrid and each black sicklebill. So this black sicklebill to me is actually worth a total of 7 points because I get also 2 points for each black sicklebill in my tree. Right now I'm at 3, they're at 3. So they're going to end up taking that red bird of paradise because there's multiples and they're worth more than the blue bird of paradise. So maybe what I'm going to do is play this. I'm going to do the take a photo action, play this wonderful bird of paradise into my photojournal. I get, looks like a stink bug. That costs me 1 action. I have to put a bird up here into the clearing, and I'm actually going to put it on top of this red bird of paradise to kind of force them into taking the one that's worth fewer points. So next it is now, I've done all 3 of my actions. It's the crew's turn. They have 6, they have more than 6 birds, but they don't have a pair of anything. That's unusual. So the way that decision making works is we are looking first for the species that matches the rightmost page in their photojournal. So that would be a Western Parodia. They don't have one of those. Next in our decision hierarchy is the species worth the most points for that number of birds. And that, unfortunately for us, because I would love to take this, but that's going to be this Triumphant Bird of Paradise. This rare hybrid is worth 5 points. The black sicklebill was only worth 4. I mean, I guess it's better out of the 2 for them to put this one in their photojournal, but it's unfortunate. And they do get, I've not been keeping track of their insects. They should have 3 lady beetles by now. Okay, so that's that. And then they're going to look out here for multiple copies of the same species, and there are for this blue bird of paradise, so this goes into their tree. Now they have 10, 14. They have 14 birds in their photojournal. We're going to refill the jungle. Oh, look at that. Red bird of paradise, greater bird of paradise. It's unfortunate that I covered that up, but they would have taken it anyway. All right, it is now my turn. I think what I need to do is take that black sicklebill from them. So let's do that. It goes straight away into my photojournal. I'm going to give them, what am I going to give them? I'm going to give them an imposter nestling because it doesn't really do them any good. They don't know how to use imposter nestlings, luckily for me, unless they get multiples of them. So I'll do that. And then they draw, oh no, I didn't really look at that. Do I want to do that in this order before I see what that is? I think the next thing, I don't want to do that in this order. Okay, roll back just a bit. Give them back their black sicklebill. Put back, okay, I'm at the beginning of my turn again. Everything is back to where it was. I think what I want to do is take a run into the jungle action. Do that. Okay, so what do I want to cover up? I want to cover up that one. I want to cover up that one and that one. Now I'm leaving these 2 uncovered. It's a little dangerous. In fact, might be too dangerous. So maybe I cover this one up with this one. Yeah, what am I going to uncover with these two if I take them? Not too bad. Okay, yeah, I don't want to leave multiples out there for if I can help it. So, okay. Oh, look at that. That's Blood's Bird of Paradise. That is a documented rare hybrid. Okay, so that was my run into the jungle action. Then I am going to take the I want to do, yeah, I am going to take the bird call action. Let's see, I did a run into the jungle. Now I'm taking a bird call action. And to call these red birds of paradise into my tree. And then for my last one, so they're not going to play that black sicklebill just yet. They are going to play this blue bird of paradise, and that is going to put them up to 16 birds in their photojournal. So we're not totally in danger yet. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 2 of my insect tokens. Which 2 do I want to spend? I don't know that it matters just yet because there's a bunch of different stuff out there. So I'm going to spend these 2 insect tokens and my last action. So I have 2 actions. I'm going to take this publication. It says when you gain this card, immediately add any bird from the jungle or clearing to your tree. 3 citation points for this card. So that goes into my photojournal, and I am going to add this rare hybrid to my tree. I can do that because I only have 5 right now, so that puts me up to my maximum at 6. And replace that. Oh, that's going to happen anyway. Oh, imposter nestlings. Whew, whew. Okay, so I'm putting off taking their black sicklebill. All right, so now it is the crew's turn. They are going to play these blue birds of paradise because they have 6 or more cards in their tree. This puts them up to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, puts them up to 16 birds in their tree. So likely on their next turn, they will end the game. So I have 1 more turn, essentially, is what's happening here. So now they're going to look up here to see if there's any duplicates. There are not, so they're going to take the run into the jungle action. Remember, they always fill in clockwise order. So, oh wait, there was, silly me. Look at that. There were duplicates, Western Protea. How did I miss that? So there's 2 of those, Western Protea. So they're going to take both of those. Remember, they do not have a limit of birds in their tree, so they can have as many as they need to have, as many as they accumulate. Okay, that was their last turn. They're definitely going to end the game on their next turn because they will play both of those Western Proteas unless I stop them. I don't really want a Western Protea, but they are worth 4 points. So that's nothing to sneeze at. Let's see what that is. Ooh, 6 citation points. How many books do I have? I have 5 books. They only have 2, so I probably should back off of publications for now. I might actually take one of those Western Proteas to extend the game a little more. So I'm going to spend 2 of my actions to take this Western Protea and hope they don't draw one off the bird deck. It goes straight into my photojournal. I have to give them a bird, so let's make sure I don't give them something that they already have. Okay, right, because we rolled that back before and I didn't give them an imposter nestling. So let's do that. So they have a bunch of cards, but no duplicates. And then for my last action, that would have given me one of these stink bugs. For my last action, I am going to play this Blood's Bird of Paradise into my photojournal. I have to put a bird up. Actually, what do I want to do? Worth 5 points. I think I want to play this imposter nestling into my photojournal because that's going to act like a Western Protea and that'll give me 4 points. So let's do that. And then I have to get rid of a bird, so I'll get rid of this standard winged bird of paradise on top of the other one. Okay, I could spend these 2 to get another action, but I don't think so. I'm going to hold off on that. Okay, so now it is the crew's turn. They don't have duplicate birds of anything, so now we're going to go for the species that matches the rightmost bird in their photojournal. They don't have a blue bird of paradise up here, so next in our decision hierarchy is species worth the most points for that number of birds. And actually it's the imposter nestling, because this brings them from 6 points to 11 points, so this imposter nestling is worth 5 points to them. So they are putting that into their photojournal. They are now up to 17 pages in their photojournal. And now they're going to look out here for duplicates. There are none, for real this time, right? Okay, there are no duplicates, so they're going to do the run-in. So the first thing they do is they fill the empty spot. They do that, and then they go in clockwise order. Now, it doesn't actually say in the rule book what order to take them off of the jungle, but the way that we do publications is we go from left to right, and we fill our photojournal from left to right. So I just go from left to right in the order that the cards come onto the clearing when the crew does the run into the jungle action. All right, and now we're not going to be able to forestall the end of the game. There are now 2 bluebirds of paradise, which is going to give them 9 points. Oh, man. When they put those in there, I might have to stop that from happening. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Let's replace this. Another bluebird of paradise. If they put both of these bluebirds of paradise into their photojournal, it's going to bring them up to that 4 on the scoring ribbon, which will give them 9 additional points beyond the 11 they're already getting. It'll bring them up to 20. If they just put one of these other birds into their photojournal, I'm ignoring the black sicklebill for now. I'll tell you why in a minute, because that could be worth 4 points to them. Otherwise, they're going to place one of these ones worth 2 points, and they'll do this one because it has the longest scoring ribbon. No, this one's worth 4 points. They'll do the Western Parodia. Actually, that's the one they would do anyway. They wouldn't do the black sicklebill. Okay, I know for sure that I'm going to spend 2 actions to take this bluebird of paradise and put it in my photojournal, not because I want the bluebird of paradise, but because I don't want the crew to have it. I have to give them a bird. Oh, this is terrible. Okay, let's hold on a second. Don't get so ahead of myself. I'm going to end up spending these insects to get an extra action, so I'm going to have 4 actions. What can I give them? I would like to also play Blood's Bird of Paradise, so let's do that first. I'm going to play Blood's Bird of Paradise into my photojournal first. That's going to cost me 1 action, and I have to get rid of a red bird of paradise. Oh, I have a plan. Okay, I'm going to put that there. It is startled, so it goes sideways. So that was 1 action. Now with these 2 actions, I am now going to take... No, not yet. With 1 action, I am going to do a bird call, and I'm going to take this imposter nestling. Okay, and now with these 2 actions, I'm going to spend 2 insect tokens and my last action to be able to finally take their bluebird of paradise, place that in my photojournal so that they can't. Oh no, the imposter nestling. Okay, yeah, this works. Oh no, it doesn't work. Not spending my... Okay, back that up. Here's the thing. There's 2 of these. Placing one of them gives them 9 points, so they will definitely place one of these. I would have to take both of these, which I'm not capable of doing, for them to not get 9 points. The 5th one doesn't give them any extra points, so I'm not going to do that. I am still going to take a bird from them, however, but I didn't have to take these imposter nestlings, so put that back. So I'm rolling that back. Joy of solo gaming, right? So I know they're going to get the 9 points no matter what. What I want to do then is to get that black sicklebill, because, let's see, right now I have 4. I mean, I'm guaranteed to have the most. They only have 3. However, I get 3 extra points for each black sicklebill, and that one's worth 4. So that would be a total of 7 points. So I'm going to spend my last 2 actions to take the black sicklebill. And now it doesn't matter that I'm giving them the red bird of paradise because they're still going to play the blue bird of paradise. I didn't want to give them this because it gave them the 8 points, but actually that's not their highest point action, so they're not going to do that. I'm going to hang on to my insect tokens. It's only going to give me 1 point at the end, but a point's a point, right? So that is everything on my turn. They are going to take their final turn by placing this blue bird of paradise. That brings them up to 19 birds in their photojournal. Technically, I guess they should take the second part of their turn, but they don't have, there is one publication card that gives you points for birds in your tree, but they don't have that publication card, so it doesn't really matter if they take birds. Technically, they would take these 2 greater birds of paradise, so I guess we'll just put them here just for the heck of it. Okay, so this is game over. Now we go to endgame scoring. Okay, so first I count up my birds. 48. 48 points for my birds. The crew, 64. So they are beating me on birds, but that's okay, I think. So publications, first theirs is easy. They only have the 1 publication, and it is worth 3 citation points. So they get 3 points for publications. I am going to get 15 plus 5 is 20. I get 20 points for publication, so we're catching up to them. Most sicklebills, I have that. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? I thought I had more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's a good thing I got that black sicklebill. I thought I already had 4, but I don't. 2, 3. Yeah. So I am at 4. Wow, it's a good thing I took that last one. So I'm at 4. They are at 3. And so I get the 7 points. They get the 3 points. They have 2 here, and they start the game with 1. So there we go. Greatest variety. So I have 6 different species. So let's just put a 6 up here. They have 7. So they get the most greatest diversity. They get 7 points for that. I get 3. Insect tokens. I forgot to give them 1 over here. It's nice that we can look and see that. So they have 2 unique insect tokens. So they get 3 points for insect tokens. I only have 1 unique because those are duplicates, so I get 1 point. Books. I have 5 books. They only have 2, so I get 5 points. They get -2. 84. 80 minus 2 is 78. Yay! Yay! So that's great. I actually beat the crew on hard mode. That is amazing. My strategy for them is to be aggressive on publications early on, especially if I see something I like, because if they ever go below 6 birds, they actually start taking publications. As you could see, I was aggressive in trying to control what birds they got from the clearing in the jungle. If you don't do that, this game is over really fast because they will be placing 3 and 4 birds at a time. Every turn. And so you have to be aggressive. Now, they managed to get 4 in a row of the Proteas, and they managed to get 4 in a row of the Bluebird of Paradise, which is not great for me for scoring for them, but it worked out okay. I beat them by 6 points, so that's great. Yay! So as far as my thoughts on the game, so this is my 10th time playing solo. I have not actually played it at higher player counts yet. I think it's going to play great at higher player counts because there is a little bit of player interaction in that you can take birds from people's tree, but it's not entirely take that, right? Because every time you take a bird from somebody's tree, you have to give them a bird. Now, of course, you're going to give them the one that benefits them the least of the birds you have, but they also get to draw a bird off of the bird deck. And that, of course, is how, I think that was how they got this Triumphant Bird of Paradise. I can't remember, but it is how they got maybe one of the Bluebirds of Paradise. In any case, it can really benefit them. So there's that. And you have to keep an eye on what the other player is doing, just like I had to keep an eye on what birds were out here, to know what the other player can take, in this case the crew. I think this AI does a really good job of simulating a second player, and the decision making for the crew is very low overhead, so it's not hard to do. Probably the hardest thing for them is to keep track of their insect tokens, but because they can't spend them for extra actions, it's easy to look back and make sure that you've given them everything they're entitled to. So I think this could play well at higher player counts. Yeah, I think even at 4. Now, of course, this is going to be an hour-long game at 4 people, but I think there's enough thinking, you're doing enough thinking in between your turns to make the game feel like it's going faster, right? And I think as long as people are thinking about what they want to do on their turn while other people are taking their turns, and they're not like sitting on their phone or something, then I think that it won't feel like it drags on. I think this game lasts as long as it needs to last. And again, at 4 players, the game's over when somebody reaches 12. I think it was 12 birds in their photo book, so it's a little bit quicker that way. I think what's really fun about this game is the fact that there are multiple paths to victory. I did not focus on getting sets. I got 1 set. Well, and I got 2 sets because of my imposter nestling, but that's because I stole that bird from them because I wanted to slow down the game a little bit. So I took that bird from them. But and you could do the same thing in a multiplayer game, right? So I think the decisions that you have to make are fun here. You know, you're keeping an eye on publications, deciding if you want that, and then which publications come out and which ones you get will change your strategy a little bit. I really focused on hybrids and black sicklebills because 2 of my publications favored those as far as points go. And the artwork is beautiful. So, I mean, visually, the whole time you're playing this game, it's a treat, right? Because these birds of paradise are so absolutely amazing. And I have some more things to say about the birds of paradise here in a minute, but because I was just reminded of something, I'm just going to leave this out so I remember I want to say something about that bird. And so I think the decisions you have to make here are really fun, and they are, it's challenging, but to me it's just challenging enough. I think while this is probably not a gateway game, I think somebody who's new to gaming, relatively new to gaming, would do fine with this game because there's not that many decisions to be made on your turn. You know, you get 3 actions, you have 5 different abilities you can choose from. 2 of them cost 2 actions, the other 3 cost 1 action. You know, you're limited in what you can do, but what you can do is the right amount of stuff to be able to do for the game. Like, it's not too much, it's not too little, you don't feel too constrained, but at the same time, you're not in a big old sandbox. I think they struck a really nice balance with this game. Table presence, I mean, it's not got big 3D stuff. It's not going to be anything like an Everdell or anything like that, but it's just beautiful. I think if you were playing this game at a convention, you know, if somebody caught sight of some of these cards, you know, if they like nature-themed games or they like birding or birds or whatever, they're going to be drawn to this game just because of the look of it. I think as far as luck versus skill, there's a little bit of luck, of course, in what cards came out. I was unlucky in some respects when cards came out into the jungle that benefited the crew, and I had no control over that. You know, and I could get lucky or unlucky when I take the run into the jungle action, to, you know, when I'm trying to make multiple birds come out. So a little bit of luck, but I think this game is not a luck-based game. It is definitely a skill-based game. That's challenging, but not overly so. Like, I wouldn't call it a brain burner. I think what I would compare it to, let's see, I don't know, it's somewhere below Meadow, definitely below Meadow as far as being brain burny. Similar to, I'm trying to think of what it would be similar to. Maybe a little bit more than like Caldera Park, maybe a little bit less than Keystone North America, you know, if you've played any of these games. So I don't know, I think it's just the right amount of challenging. And I know when this game first came out, it got compared to Wingspan, and I honestly have no idea why, other than the fact that it has the same theme. right? They both have birds as a theme, but this one is confined to a particular group of birds, the birds of paradise. It is not an engine building game. It is a set collection game. It really has very little in common with Wingspan. It's definitely lighter than Wingspan. In that respect, I think it's definitely lighter than Wingspan, but it's also going to play in a lot less time, especially for the solo game. As far as component quality, I mean, the cardboard for the insect tokens is fine. You don't really handle them very much, so that's fine. The card quality is great. I really like these cards. They shuffle really nicely, and they seem like they'll hold up quite well. I don't sleeve my cards, and I have no worry about these cards getting beat up too much. I probably maybe would have made the player boards a little thicker, but they're fine if you don't abuse them. You don't interact with them very much, so I think they're fine for the amount of interaction that you have with them. Same for the clearing in the jungle. If you live in a humid environment, you might get some warping if you don't control that, but the only thing I would have liked to have seen would be for one of these player boards to, on the other side, which is blank, to have been specific to the solo game and perhaps had the decision hierarchies for the decisions that the crew has to make when they are taking birds from the clearing in the jungle. As you saw, it's not much to it. I have some little notes just off screen here for the decision hierarchy, and really most of the time I don't even refer to them. I know what's going to happen as far as the decisions that are going to be made by the crew, and so but that would be the only real criticism that I have, is that I wish that there had been a player board that had solo-specific elements to it on the other side. I think that would not have been hard to do. I think somebody just didn't think about it. As far as the tactile experience of playing the game, it's a card game. The cards are great. There's not much to the tactile experience of it, except for the cards definitely are good. I played a game the other day where the cards were not great, and I can tell you that is a terrible experience. But that is not this game. The cards are great in this game. As far as replayability, I think there's plenty of replayability because there are multiple paths to victory. You can focus on getting sets. You can focus on publications. I focused on getting my points from publications. And that is why I focused on the black sicklebills and the unique hybrids. They also are relatively high pointing birds. I focused on making sure that I had the most black sicklebills to score that, and that I had the most books to be able to score that bonus. I did not focus on collecting insect tokens, but you could certainly do that. So I think there's pretty good replayability here, especially if you're playing at different player counts. But honestly, I love this solo game. The solo game is great, and I can knock out a solo game in like 20-25 minutes. So that's good. The other day I think I played 4 or 5 solo games in a day, and it didn't even take me that long. So, of course, I was preparing for this, but still, I could see myself doing that anyway. So those are my thoughts on the game. I really like this game. Anyway, that is. Oh, I was going to tell you. Every time I see this picture of the red bird of paradise, I kind of laugh, because these guys all have amazing courtship displays. Just absolutely amazing. The males are the ones that are the brightly colored and have these amazing, extravagant plumes. And so this red bird of paradise, actually part of its courtship behavior is it displays upside down, and so it is depicted on this card upside down. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So does the Arfac astropia. I'm probably saying that all wrong. Also does part of its display upside down. The Wilson's bird of paradise takes full advantage of its coloration. It's taking the bald look to whole new levels. One of my favorite ones, so this one, the Western Parotia, actually makes, I think this is the one, it makes it doesn't look like a bird anymore when it's doing its courtship behavior. I can't possibly describe this, but you have to look up, you're already on YouTube, so look up birds of paradise courtship displays or mating dances or whatever. They have some amazing courtship displays. And here's something interesting. So Alfred Russel Wallace was either the first or one of the first Europeans to see birds of paradise in the wild and not just their dead skins. And he was a person who, along with, at the same time, but independently of Charles Darwin, was coming up with his own theory of evolution by natural selection that was very similar to Charles Darwin's theory. And they were both doing this at about the same time because, it was the right time for that. There was enough information. Anyway, he was gathering his information in Indonesia, whereas Charles Darwin gathered a lot of his observations when he took his voyage of the Beagle through the Galapagos down, he went down the east coast of South America, up the west coast of South America, through the Galapagos, over to Australia and New Zealand, and then back up to England. And many things that he saw on that whole journey, not just the Galapagos, informed his theory of evolution by natural selection. But here's something interesting. These brilliant plumages, the theory of natural selection cannot explain those because, especially when you have something like, where is it? Not that guy. One of these, even just look at the black sicklebill. The length of their tail is just incredible. And so that can't be good for energetics of flying or escaping predators or just being inconspicuous. If you're trying to be inconspicuous, you are not bright red and blue and yellow, right? And so what Alfred Russel Wallace thought, so the females of most of these species, so when there are brightly colored males, the females are usually pretty drab and brown. And so Alfred Russel Wallace, and this is not entirely incorrect, but he explained it like this. He thought that the male coloration was the norm for the species, and that the females had evolved to be less brightly colored so that they could blend in, because in birds of paradise, unlike many other birds, it is only the females who take care of the eggs, although he probably didn't know that at the time, but it is only the females. The males ditch them and let them do all the taking care of, which can happen because fruit is abundant where they live, and that's a high-calorie food. So the females are successful for the most part, I think. We don't really know a lot about their nesting habits, but we do know the females take care of the chicks. Anyway, Charles Darwin, who had given this some thought because he was also bothered by peacocks' tails and other male ornamentation, he actually proposed a theory of sexual selection where these males develop these extravagant the extravagant plumes, or if you think racks of antlers on elk, or the eye spots and the beautiful feathers, the extravagant tails on peacocks, that they evolve these because females are choosing them based on those ornamentations. And this can result in runaway sexual selection, but it doesn't always. But anyway, that was very controversial when Charles Darwin proposed that, because here he was saying, in Victorian England, mind you, that the males were showing off for the females because the females were doing all the choosing of mates. And that was quite scandalous in Victorian England. So Charles Darwin, of course, was right. Alfred Russel Wallace was not entirely right in that part where he thought that the males were the sort of normal coloration for the species, but he probably was right in the females remaining that sort of dull color because it does help them escape predation, stay more inconspicuous when they're taking care of the young. So that part probably does have some truth to it. So anyway, I think, again, I want to encourage you, if you're interested at all in these birds of paradise, if you can find David Attenborough's Paradise Birds. It's, I think, about an hour long. If you're in the UK, you'll have no problem finding it. Possibly the rest of Europe. If you're in the United States, it takes a little bit more ingenuity to find it because of, I guess, copyright restrictions. Anyway, that's everything I have for you. I'm pretty sure I'm probably forgetting to say a bunch of stuff that I wanted to say, but there you have it. I will see you in the next video. Bye!